Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday, and welcome on into another edition of your Truck Tech FreightWaves Now Community Spotlight. I'm Kaylee Nixon. We're here with Alan Adler, our host and writer of the Truck Tech community. Alan, thank you for joining us this morning. We've got a lot to cover and not a lot of time to get there. So we'll start with this week's show. What can we be expecting this afternoon?
Well, it's been a little while, but we're coming back to the Volvo VNL. We're going to talk with Maddie Sullivan, who is a product marketing manager, kind of focused on the safety side of the new VNL. We take a bit of a deep dive there with her in terms of how the application of Volvo's global safety platform and is allowing for a lot more integration of the kind of safety stuff that really will cut down on many collisions. Maybe 92% of collisions could be avoided, and then those that can't be avoided would be, mitigated or made less severe. And so she gets into some of that, as well as some other pretty nifty features that come with the safety side of the new VNL.
Yeah, the last time that we talked about the VNL, I think we talked a lot about the flash, right? We talked about how good of a vehicle it looked like, and we were like, man, I would be happy to be driving one of those down the road. But it's nice to get a little bit of the nitty-gritty into some of these more important and very, very pertinent features to what they're trying to do at Volvo. Was there anything that really stuck out to you as like, wow, this is possibly industry changing for what they're doing with the VNL?
In some ways, I think they're catching up with some of the things that are out there. And the reason for that is because they are now able to, with an all-new ground-up vehicle, the first time they've really done a VNL, in North America, for North America, they're able to link up with some of the things that are done in Europe. That, for example, a 24-volt electrical system allows them to bring in a lot of things from Europe that you previously would have had to sort of bring down to a 12-volt system, and a lot of re-engineering and things like that. Now you've got much more commonality, which I think is really important. I think as we talk more and more about the VNL, what we're finding is that this will be, and I mentioned it in the show, is it's kind of the Christmas tree that everything hangs on at Volvo now. Whether it's autonomous trucking that they're doing with Aurora, whether it's an electric version of this truck, which they've teased but haven't given any details on yet, or really anything else. I mean, this could be a platform that will last them perhaps, for a number of decades, because it took 7 years to bring this to life. They even refreshed the current truck during that period. And so this is a very big deal for Volvo, and I think ultimately for the customers of the sort of over the road trucking and long haul trucking. I think that's really obviously the sweet spot for this. Although there's going to be some variants, there is a day cab and things like that.
They've maybe perfected the mold a little bit, and now I get to see how they tweak it to each little specification, right?
Yeah, and I think this opens up, according to what Maddie told us, this really opens up a lot of opportunity down the road. This isn't just being, hardwired for today. This is something that really has a lot of adaptability as we look and see kind of where the trucking future goes. This platform should allow for that kind of upgrading, if you will.
So that's the show for this Wednesday, which you can find right here this afternoon on FreightWaves TV. But we are really excited about the newsletter that's coming up on Friday. And I love the Truck Tech newsletter. As we know, it's one of our biggest communities here at FreightWaves. And this week, you've got some pretty interesting perspective talking about the lending space and some of the financials that are going on. And I feel like for a long time, we've talked a lot of gloom and doom when it comes to the financials in the truck tech space. This is a different story. This is a story of positivity. Talk to us a little bit about it.
Well, we have to be careful here because not everybody's going to win on this one. But there are certain companies that are in pieces that we cover, whether it's infrastructure, around electric charging, or whether it's autonomous trucking, or really, even electric trucks themselves and that sort of thing. There are certain companies that are beginning to distinguish themselves now and attract the interest of bankers that will lend them money to grow their businesses. There are many more companies out there that can't do it, but there are a few, and we point them out. We talk to some of their people about that. The catalyst for this particular newsletter really was Volterra, which just got $100 million debt facility, as they call it. You could think of it as a line of credit, really, to keep building out their electric charging sites. We saw this a little over a year ago with Enride. They got $200 million to expand what they're doing in both the electric truck space as well as some remote control trucking and things like that. And also more recently, last year, Aurora Innovation got $850 million in the market, from the markets, because of what they're doing. All of these stories are a little bit different, and we sort of unpack all of them in the newsletter this week. And then you've got sort of how did this come about? And it really started, we've seen it before in other industries like solar and wind and data centers and things like that. Some of the winners in those spaces got to critical mass and then were able to borrow money from banks to grow their businesses. And we're starting to see that. It's early, but we're starting to see it in the transportation space. And so we take a look at that. We've got, a number of comments from a number of folks in there. A good interview with Matt Horton at Volterra. And then also we talk with David Maddie from Aurora. We talk with Tom Okray at Nikola. Nikola is not getting that money, by the way, right now from the banks. They just went back to the equity markets this week. So a little more of a financial kind of bent this week, but definitely in that truck tech space, I think.
So for those companies, some of those companies were both the recipients of money and capital from the equity markets, and then now they're also getting this from the banking side. Is there any type of mindset difference from where they're getting this financing from? Does it maybe feel a little bit more secure to know that banks are now willing to issue them line of credit instead of having to go out and source it from equity or even from VC?
Well, I think you're getting both, really. I think equity remains a major source of funding for new and startup companies. The ones that start to get mature and have either a book of business, contracts with customers that they can use as collateral, or in the case of Aurora, just a business case that people seem to like and are willing to put their money behind. You've got something. It's that second source, and then of course you still have a bit of a grant piece here too, where they're able to get incentives for both the products as well as for the infrastructure. So really three streams of funding, but the banking one is the one. And there are people who don't think that bank financing is a great thing, but it generally is cheaper than using your equity to fund the business. And of course, the outlier in the story, honestly, is Nikola. They continue to have to use equity. They can't really get this kind of treatment from a bank at this point. And, they just went back out this week for $160 million more. That's sort of senior debt that would convert to equity. So that the people who are doing it are going to get 5% interest a year. That's a company that, doesn't have that credit worthiness right now, that it can attract this kind of thing like a Volterra did. Interestingly enough, though, Volterra is doing hydrogen fueling sites for Nikola, and was said a year ago that they would invest up to $1 billion on these sites. So it's kind of interesting that even the companies that can't get the financing are still benefiting from those that can.
It's like a handshake down the line. Like you're still feeling the shake, but you might not be the one that's holding the hand. Alan, for the show and for the newsletter this week, where can people go to find both of those?
Well, the show, of course, 3 p.m. Eastern today at the FreightWaves YouTube channel under Truck Tech. I think it streams first, and then it goes into the playlist, so you can find it there. The newsletter, both post and emails to subscribers, opt-in subscribers, on Friday at 11 Eastern. You can subscribe by going to FreightWaves.com under newsletters and opt in for that, and we'd be happy to have you.
All right, Alan, thanks for joining us this morning for your update, and we'll catch you later on today.
Okay, thanks.